Hey, I'm Scott Russell.
And I'm Melissa Gelanese.
This is Let's Chat. So
We've been chatting
we
for
have
an
been
hour and a
chatting.
half.
Yeah, sorry, we get chatting, and we think we should have recorded that.
Yeah.
But we don't. But
It's incidental conversation is what
Incidental.
seems to be the best. But anyway,
oh yeah, we got some of it, but what we use is what we use. So
yeah,
I hope you're all enjoying this. I think it's a good flow sometimes. We're just talking about the events of the world, the events of. And to me, it's we always get weird
Something.
noises or something. We don't have a studio. It's just part of
we
being.
particularly chose a quiet, what we thought would be quiet today.
And then we have guys come out, cigarettes next to us, people that
Yeah,
we've had it
anyway.
all. But
Yeah.
just trying to bring that relax to the world. We don't have to be. So many people are so uptight. By the time they get to the end of this, they won't have a soul left. And I think Melissa and I, it's to bring hope. Melissa's a hope bringer.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
Yep.
but it set me thinking. Last week after we finished it, I felt a little bit for Melissa because she's a model, and I know
I try to be.
I know I'm the better looking one of the two. But
I try to be. There's not much going on at the moment. I guess that's what the problem was.
It's probably because they see you on here, hanging out with that guy. No.
Bad
But anyway, you
influence,
had a text message about some work.
Yeah,
and
so during the last thing at No Ego Coffee, when you were a bit
ego,
crazy.
all egoed up.
Yeah, I said yes to a job. I'd been casted for a really good commercial, and I hadn't gotten one in a while because of the whole mandate thing, the thing that's been driving a lot of careers into the ground. And, it makes me really angry because despite what you're hearing, there's still so many people that can't work because of it. And because of my vaccination status, I haven't been able to get on set or do a lot of photographic shoots and that sort of thing. I've been lucky with a few, but some I hadn't, and I'd been confirmed for this job. It was actually a big commercial for Taco Bell, of all things.
Oh,
Not
really?
great, but it was really well paid, and I was excited about it. And basically,
You're gonna have to hold a chihuahua, the little dog they use.
God knows. I think I was just going to hoe into some tacos, which was right up my alley because I am such a foodie, for anybody who's wondering. But basically, COVID killed my career when it first hit because of the fact that I owned a entertainment business.
Yep.
And that was no more because people couldn't go anywhere to see any entertainment. So that was done. And I'd gotten back into, before the mandates actually came out, I'd gotten into some more acting work and gotten onto the set of the Elvis movie.
Elvis, that's right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was at a time where I wasn't 100% awake yet. So I'd unfortunately submitted myself to
A lot
rat
of
tests
Yeah.
to be on set because of the close proximity with the main actor, the scene that I was in. And didn't realise the dangers of them at the time. So, I swore to myself I would never submit myself to that again, having known the
never known
information
one.
that I own now. Well, you're lucky.
I dodged it.
And they're incredibly invasive and uncomfortable too. Yeah.
They sticking a probe up my nose.
Yeah, the thing is, where I'm not sick. I'm well. And it shouldn't be in place. Knowing everything we obviously know now, they shouldn't be in place.
Well, people should know in Australia, no
know.
one's doing rat tests anymore. I mean, maybe somebody,
Yeah.
but it's not a general thing. But
Yeah.
because this is an American company, they demanded.
They demanded because of their insurance that I had it. And I actually said before I took the job, I said, yes, I am available. And they casted me and I said, I can do it so long as I'm, my back status and I'm not going to be doing any tests. And last minute, the request for the tests come in. And so I had to say no. I put my foot down and said no. And the agent got irritable about it. It's just a test, it's okay with your back status and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, you're still asking me to do something to me that I don't want to do. Look, I just feel like if we all, the risk of sounding a bit hard, I feel like if we all just took a stand on that and all just said no, then we wouldn't even be in
this mess that we're in.
We actually wouldn't. If everyone just stood up and said no, regardless of it seems massive in everyone's individual life, but it's minimal in terms of the big story.
And they've got everybody in such fear that everybody thinks that I'm the only one that thinks like this. But I actually think there's more people that are for freedom, more people that think the way we're talking now than the other way.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just
absolutely.
the people that are intimidating have big mouths, and fear's their currency. They've jammed fear into everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I was a little bit
Yeah, you
down
missed-
in the dumps.
so you
about
didn't get
whole
the job
thing.
in the
No,
end,
I didn't
no.
get the job, and I'm still doing the odd shoot, the ones that don't require the big sets and
So
the
if you need a good model,
insurance
if
policies.
you need a good model and you're watching this, Melissa's the one.
And I'm a lot of fun on set.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone laughing.
yeah.
Anyway, no, so it led me to talking to a friend who actually came up from Canberra, who's, you know, she thinks like us, she's very awake. And she's actually a primary school teacher too, and she's been up here relief teaching but in the high schools. It's actually led me to thinking that maybe that's a possibility for the now. And in fact, maybe that's a direction that I'm being pulled into, because she was explaining the way that, you know, relief teaching is very much, you don't have to be a slave to the curriculum.
Which is
you know.
good, because I mean, it'd be hard to be a
That's what
teacher.
turned me
then.
off it in the first place, and it
Yeah.
was one of the reasons I left teaching in the first place. Even as an early 20-something, I couldn't stand the curriculum and the controls within.
Yeah.
You know, the perimeters that I had to remain in. It. I already knew back then that it was something that I didn't necessarily
Wanna do.
want. But yeah, you know, it might be a good path for now because of the positivity that I might be able to actually impart into the high school kids at the moment, and
It's
the
a great-
hope, and the
it's a
hope,
great
as
idea,
you said
actually.
before.
Yeah, she's a hope bringer.
Yeah.
Melissa's a hope
Apparently,
bringer.
I'm a hope bringer. Come along and sprinkle
She brings hope.
fairy dust of hope
Yeah,
to
you bring
everybody.
hope that Sol will shut up and you can talk.
So you never know.
Where are we? What's this?
At the moment, I've taken you to a new little place because I'm like,
We're in a little lunch shed
what do
here.
we call it? What
That's
is Sam, who does the weather, who I absolutely love? If you ever watch this, hi Sam. She says I'm not. What does she say? I'm not tourist Barbie or something. But I am a little bit with you because you're new to the Gold Coast, so I like to use this opportunity to take you to a few different places.
Yeah.
So today we're at Hotter, home of Theatre Arts, I think it is,
Okay.
on the Gold Coast. Big.
You said there's some
government-run
weird
complex.
statue here or
There
something
is,
too,
there
right?
is.
What-
So
what's
that
the go
took me
with that?
to
I
another
haven't seen
thing.
it yet.
I had a busy week this week.
Yeah.
So on Saturday I attended something here actually up on the garden nice area.
Oh,
A bit of a
invitation only.
it was a public gathering for anyone who was concerned with there's a little bit of a protest for anyone concerned with the actual statue that they've got at the front of the gallery not far behind us, which I'm going to drag you over to
We'll
so you
film
can
it.
film it and
We'll
show
film it.
everybody.
She's on a mission, so we'll
Look,
film
if
it.
you know the information and you know what's going on in the world, as soon as you see this statue, even if you don't and you're not awake, but as soon as you see this statue, you're going to straight away say, rip it down.
Did you see those ones in the States? They just blew them up. The Georgia something stones. Somebody help us
Oh,
with that.
yes. Yes.
And it had
big
the ten commandments of
Yep, they've pulled them
the
down.
globalist Satanist type deal. And
Yeah,
somebody
and
blew it up.
yeah,
it
they've
didn't
been
get
pulled
pulled down.
down.
It got blown up.
I wonder when the...
Is this the same sort of thing? The statue that's here?
No, it's
Yeah.
worse. But I
Is it?
wonder, well, it's uglier. It's definitely not worse in theory, but it's uglier. I actually wonder when they're going to attack the 5G towers, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, let's leave that one.
The amount of times I've driven past them and gotten evil thoughts.
Oh, did you see
Yeah.
some of the videos I shared this week? They've had in France people climbing up the poles and spraying
Yes.
spraying
Yeah.
the cameras. And,
Yeah, that's kind of where
and
my mind goes
angle grinders
regularly.
where they're cutting the posts
Daily.
off and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If that happens here, it wasn't Melissa.
Well, it wasn't me.
No, you wouldn't know
so
how
I
to
don't
start an
wanna-
angle grinder.
You want to bet?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Pretty handy.
Oh, wow.
Got my own drill and everything at home.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, your husband is a tradesman, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's a builder and plumber and
so
everything.
you know how to do
He
plumbing?
thinks it's funny that I get into things and want to do things until he comes home and it's done.
You make a mess of it and he fixes it, but he just doesn't tell you that. So,
Anyway,
and
this statue is flat out ugly. It's not just ugly, and I saw it before I looked into things, and before this even, would have been about 6 months
so
ago.
what's it to do with? Give us a teaser, and then we'll actually film it and we'll put it on there. So you can see.
It's definitely to do with all the pedophilia and child trafficking. It's this vile statue of a bloody face I don't want to actually go into too much detail on this
don't.
because of censorship,
Yeah.
but it's definitely to do with trafficking and child pedophilia and all those themes. It's an ugly, bloodied face, and it's holding like this. It's holding an upside down child figure. So the child's upside down, head on this person's hand. Symbolising this is the person who's meant to be caring for the child. It's an adult, but it's upside down. It's blue and bloodied.
So
If you can look into that.
So let's leave that one alone. We'll move on that one because I know you got junk in the States.
But I
It's all
wanted
over
to
the
bring
world.
it up because
Yeah,
I
we'll
wanted
do
to
a
show.
segment you can talk about.
Well, I wanted to show the way that they're doing things, and it's part of their belief. You know, they're doing things right in front of our nose.
It's satanic.
Just like the chemtrails, which we can talk about. They're doing it in front of our nose, sometimes subtly with artwork, because they've gotten us so accustomed to
Well,
the fact
artwork
that
doesn't have censorship.
right, and we look at
So-
artwork and go, oh, that's odd. They've gotten us to the point where it's so common to look at artwork that is odd.
Yeah.
When we do see something that's weird like that, we don't react the way that we perhaps should.
Should, correct.
Because I remember 6 months ago when my daughter was performing here and I saw it, I was like, come and have a look at this. I said to my husband, this is odd, And it looks-
Desensitizing.
That's right.
Desensitizing.
They
I have
absolutely have been
my dad tells a
desensitising
story years ago, before I was born, so it wasn't that long ago. But,
Yeah.
no, I mean, years ago. So there was, in Australia, they were trying to pass laws on whatever it was, but I just remember what happened. They went into this politician's office. At the time, a woman in a swimsuit wasn't good.
Yeah.
And this man held up an image, the politician, and said, see this, in however many years we will have this acceptable.
Yeah.
And he said it was just a desensitizing. He said we are desensitizing the population. He was a politician.
Wow. Yeah. It's
And
a
they-
process
and they-
that's gone on for years and you don't think much of it. Well, I suppose I didn't, and many were awake long before me. But you see the way that now all those processes are slowly unfolding now, and they're trying to get their end game.
And it's almost like now they've just pulled out all stops. Anything goes. It doesn't really, but they
Yeah.
want us to think that anything
goes.
And-
They're wanting us to believe that is freedom of speech and that is freedom of movement and letting your morals and your respect for general
go.
life
Yeah.
all go is freedom. That's not what freedom is.
No, it's not. It's when everybody does what's right in their own eyes, you end up with anarchy,
Yeah.
and anarchy just doesn't work.
No.
Doesn't work at all.
See what I mentioned before about the chemtrails. On Monday, I was a really angry ant. For anyone who's on my Facebook account, you'll know that. And I actually got another notification saying that my account on Facebook is restricted. I'm like, again, I thought I was already behind bars.
I'm a little
What am I in
disgusted.
isolation
Yeah, I was
now?
going to say, I'm a little disgusted that you weren't restricted. I mean, you obviously weren't doing your job.
Well, clearly I was, but I was that angry because every time I walked out, so I went to drop my daughter off to school. There's a double one, which I filmed. A massive line across the sky. And then they went back and did another one underneath. Just to reiterate their point that they're spraying the heck out of us and poisoning the hell out of us, right? So another line. So I'm up in the other area that I've dropped her off at, walk out of the shops, and then there's another one. And then I'm almost home, there's the most almighty line. I counted and I actually filmed 5 that day on Monday. And then I looked at Facebook and looked at, my circle of obviously my feed, and it was non-stop. So people everywhere
Everyone's
on the
starting
Gold
to
Coast
see
and
it.
Brisbane were seeing it and really having so they should having a whinge on Monday because it was crazy day for it.
Yeah.
So again, the desensitisation process of they've allowed us to see little bits and pieces of it, so we think nothing of it, because I've had people try and explain to me, good-willed as they may be, trying to explain to me that it's something else to do with jets. Well, these planes weren't jets.
Yeah.
When I've looked at the radar system that you can actually download to see the planes, they weren't jets.
But
They
you
were
can-
little planes that were they were anonymous. You weren't allowed to see on this radar system where they'd
What
come
they
from,
were.
where they were going, and who they were.
But if you go on, what's that? National Science. There's a science website. I can't think of the name of it. There in the US, not National Geographic. Popular
Something.
Mechanics, one of those sort of things. There's
Yeah.
I remember there's an actual video on the cloud about the cloud seeding and
seeding and everything.
chemtrails, and they show the planes. They show the planes all loaded with all the sprayers and all the chemical drums and
Yeah.
all. It's a fact, but
Yeah.
what do they do? Oh, it's all conspiracy nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I probably would have joined in on that song and I would have said the same thing. But it's becoming so blatant now. It's like they're giving it such a red hot go. And I saw all
I
these
think it's
people getting
all
angry.
or nothing right now. They're trying to shove everything they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw all these people like me getting angry about it. I'm like, okay, so what do we do? Because the frustration levels get so bad. You're like, okay, so what do we do about it?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I rang Gold Coast City Council.
Yeah. And they thought you were a nut.
Well, no, I spoke, you know,
Yeah.
really eloquently and
Yeah.
tried to sound quite educated.
Educated. English and how she spoke. Yeah, go
So
on.
that they knew that they weren't speaking to an idiot.
Yeah.
The first thing she said was, "Have you spoken to aviation?" And I'm like, "Why would I?" Anyway, she transferred me through to aviation, who had no idea and said that they would get a colleague to ring me back or email me. I've since heard nothing.
Yeah, of course.
I then proceeded to contact our local member of parliament. Is it Karen Andrews? Whose admin team, someone in their admin team said that they would get somebody to return my call and return my email. And
No.
I've had no,
Nothing. Of course.
they don't care. Is this news to anyone? Guess what? They don't care.
No, they
They don't care about
Or
us.
worse, they just say you're a nut.
Yeah.
Anything they can't handle, oh, she's a nut.
Well, I saw a comment on one of my Facebook posts on this dirty big chemtrail across our beautiful blue sky.
Skies, yeah.
And someone said they literally, it's like they've got blinkers on, that they approached somebody from Parliament one time and they had the hide to say, "What chemtrails? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
It's literally like that movie. If you haven't seen it yet, please see it. It is on Netflix. It's called Don't Look Up. And it was released not long after all this. I think it was in 2020. It's literally the same thing that's happening
Don't look
to
up. I haven't seen it.
people
I've
now.
seen Up.
No, this is
Yeah.
Don't Look Up. Yeah.
I'll have to look it up.
So
Well, don't look up. Don't look up.
it's crazy. It's like a satire of and it's a send up of exactly what we're going through right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
a
it's
bunch of
funny
people
though,
who
when it-
refuse to actually even
Yeah.
acknowledge
But
it.
isn't that true with all these movies? So many of the movies are actually what's happening.
Reflection
It's
of what's
almost like
happening.
the globalists, whoever have said, let's make a movie about this and
Yeah.
rub their nose in it.
Yeah.
And so people think it's fiction. Let's just program people to think it's just a conspiracy nut. Here's a movie about it.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, they've been telling us the whole way, the plan.
Yeah. They
It's,
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I look at, it's funny because when you are awake, as all of you would know, when you actually look at movies that you've once seen or shows that you've once seen before, you do look at it with totally different glasses on now.
Yeah.
You do see it completely different to the way that you used to.
And then when you hang out with someone like Melissa, she sends me this video. You've got to watch this video. Now, I was on the train yesterday, so I actually was non-rebellious and I watched a 10-minute one.
Yeah.
And it was about.
Oh, well done.
It was about. It was pretty good. Yeah, we won't even mention that. But then, then there was a 54-minute one, which was a little bit more painful. But
Yeah.
it actually wasn't. Once I got into it, it was sad. It was the Cafe Lockout talking about. What was the guy's name?
Stephen Harrison.
Stephen Harrison.
Yeah.
So
So,
I know
Michael.
those overseas. It's a local guy that trips around Australia and interviews things and.
He's amazing. He actually was he's from Melbourne, and he was amongst it and one of the earlier, truth tellers and citizen journalists, shall we
From the
say.
start.
From the start. And he
yeah.
actually got shot himself by the police during one of the protests with rubber bullets and was quite injured.
Yeah.
And was arrested. So he went through all of this, and now he's doing an amazing thing where he's going around to lots of different cities, both out in the sticks, as we call it, out
out
back.
the bush for them, for those overseas, out in the sticks, some
And
Aussie coming
cities,
out.
yeah, and cities so not so much. Going around to just meeting your everyday people and listening to their stories, and I find it really intriguing. I listen to him and his stories quite a lot in the interviews that that he
yeah.
has. But this particular one was very sad.
Yeah, it was. It kind of pulled me in a bit because it was
Yeah,
this guy that was really just living his own eccentric.
very
I'm probably a bit
eccentric.
eccentric myself in some things. And
Yeah, but
maybe,
this guy was
but
a
he
major scholar and knew too
Yeah.
much, clearly. When you look into it a little bit, he obviously knew too much. He was surrounded by books, many old books, a lot of literature, and he knew a lot, and he knew a lot about the Constitution, most importantly. And he said he would argue till,
And he'd been to the freedom rallies,
Yeah.
and he
yeah,
probably was on the police radar. But long story short,
but
they
he was the most non-aggressive, slightly built man,
yeah,
dressed in old school, very respectful still.
supposedly committed suicide at a.
That's what they've
somebody
put it
said
down
there was a
to.
siege at his house, right? And the police turned up, used some sort of advanced weapon, sound weapon or something on him, and the guy was a bit, traumatized by
Overwhelmed
that.
and traumatized.
And then they claim that he, even though no one heard the shotgun, they claim he blew his head off. And
I'm not insinuating the end result of what happened, but it's a really strange story that demands, I believe it demands an,
well, to me,
an
it's
inquiry.
to me, it's just sad that we've got to a point in society where we're not trusting our authorities. I mean, at once upon a
There's a
time,
reason
a
for
police
that.
officer turned up, he was trustworthy.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you sort of are thinking, well, is this something you can trust them with or not? And there's been such an abuse of power. And actually, I
Yeah.
shared a video just this morning. You probably haven't seen it. Italy, where the police officers are taking off all their riot gear in the
Wow,
middle of all
yeah.
and the people are cheering them and clapping. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, what about France? When are the French police officers going to get some courage and realise that they're fighting their own families, their own friends? Stop it. Just
Yeah.
because some egotistical maniac is shoving through orders, and I get it, people have to follow orders, but they're making a choice to go against their own culture, their
Yeah.
own people. Stop.
Yeah,
Take your
just
gear
stop.
off and stand there and say we're not doing it. I'm not going to beat you with sticks. And
The thing
don't-
is that definitely from what someone high up from the police force recently was on the news apparently, stating that they're going to be going after, domestic terrorists and conspiracy theorists.
yeah, of course.
We all know what that means, and the saddest thing
It
is
means whoever they feel like.
right. It's he's definitely been painted. He was a very, very slight, very non-aggressive person, very obviously.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could actually go after somebody like that, stating that the whole reason was apparently he was wielding a firearm.
Firearm, yeah. Which in Australia, it's not easy to get access to a firearm.
Yeah.
So
But if you delve into the story and you look into the character profile of this man, none of that even actually makes sense. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense.
So let's just
Yeah.
give his name as what? Stephen Harrison.
Stephen
If somebody
Harrison.
has interest in that, they could go and look that up.
Well, what I was going to do, which is what I've been incidentally doing anyway, is
Yeah.
any links that I actually discuss on our little chats, I usually put a little comment on once you've posted this.
All right, well, if you
and
send
I'll put
it,
the link in.
we'll put the link in. I'll try
Yeah.
and put the actual link in the description
Yeah.
for folks if you want to hear that interview.
Yeah, another link I really am keen, because you know how I diversify in the
Yes,
week.
you do,
I
yeah.
definitely go from this person to this person. I've got to listen to this. There's no one sort of style. I
Yeah.
like I've said previously, if somebody's out there talking truth, I don't care about their background or anything else. I want to hear from
Fair
them.
enough, yeah.
And I want to hear what they've got to say. So one person I listen to a lot, but another person based on the Gold Coast, Dave Onyx, I think. I don't know how to say his name properly. Let's just say Dave, good old
Yeah,
Dave,
yeah,
Surfer
yeah.
Dave.
Surfer Dave. There you go.
So he also is very forthright in coming forward and speaking truth, and he does from time to time have people that he talks to that he thinks will benefit the community in some capacity. He was very, very potent down in Lismore, helped a lot.
So Lismore was an area here that got flooded.
Flooded,
And Melissa
yeah.
went down and did some flood relief there when it came
Some a
through.
year ago, just
Yeah.
over a year ago. Yeah. So he was right in the thick of it and copped a lot of flack with a lot of untruths. unnecessary to go into, but yeah, it's really sad to see. But he had someone really awesome that I admire because, you know, I've spoken about fitness before.
Yeah.
A CrossFit champion by the name of Amanda Allen. So she's amazing. And she was just touching on pain and medicine being movement, and talking about how, even going one step further, how muscle contraction can actually lead to chemicals released directly in the muscles that alleviate pain and, you know, produce serotonin and all that sort of thing, and perspiration. So, you know, getting the sweat on in the gym or whatever it is you want to do, it can be just something, you know, basic at home, quick 10-minute workouts, whatever you want to do. Perspiration alone, we're talking about detoxing from all the stuff that's going on at the moment, is
Probably
the
a sauna.
biggest detox.
Probably a
sauna,
sauna
and but perspiration, no matter what, how, through exercise, through sauna, it is one of the biggest detoxes that we can actually do for our body.
Clean the system out.
Yeah, as long as we're actually rehydrating as well, drinking the
Of
water
course, I guess
and
what
not
you-
tap water.
Yeah. I guess what you're saying through all that is taking responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah,
And yeah, they're putting all sorts of junk into us and around us, and, and detoxing from that really naturally, spiritually and mentally and emotionally.
they are. We need
I think
to detox
too many people
from it.
are. I was just talking to someone recently, yesterday, about it, saying, "Oh, I'm taking a bit of downtime," and I was like, "That's a good thing."
Yeah.
I said more people need to do it, because so many people get caught up in this, looking for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and it's just not. It's not smart.
I do, and believe it or not, I do it all the time. I do it weekly, and I go in and out. Like I've explained before, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I'll know. I don't think I knew my limit about a year ago, and I was just hot under the collar and just wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And I've had to pull back because, you know, I've got a child. I'm trying to stay positive for family,
Yeah.
my own sanity.
Yeah.
I know when the head's too full and I've got to pull back, and I do. And I literally, when I'm quiet on social media or whatever, that's usually what it is. I've gone to the beach. I've gone to get some vitamin D, and I've just gotten stuck into regular things that make
Just
you happy.
chilling. Which is
Yeah.
good. I'm glad to hear you're doing it.
Yeah,
I think,
you've got to.
I nearly made a comment about women then, but I thought I'll get
Don't
myself
you
in
dare.
trouble. I think we
you
all
dare.
need to do it. But I think some of the ladies are pretty hard working.
Yeah.
And they're pretty
I think
aggressive
we're
in
better
this
at
sense of having-
recognising when we do need to step back, because men will just plough on, as we've talked about.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. You think
Okay.
about it though.
Yeah.
Women, but if there's
Yeah.
a job to do, the woman's going to do it.
Yeah.
And even if it's costing her a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's... No, I don't know. We're generalising, but you're right.
So speaking of another awesome woman, there's a woman who I loved watching in the 80s and 90s on TV, completely different capacity then. She had her own comedy type sitcom, Roseanne Barr. So I sent that to you. That's the 10-minute that I sent to you. And it seemed to have been like a
Was that
summary.
her?
Yeah, that's her, Roseanne Barr. Yeah.
She,
So
she used to do sitcom or something.
Yeah, so I don't actually know. I suspect there's a much longer video to the one I sent you, because I could see that there were grabs
Grabbing snips,
of
yeah.
and snippets of the conversation, which I'm going to include,
It
because
was on
if you watch anything,
InfoWars, right?
InfoWars with Alex Jones, and it got him quite emotional. So I'm unsure of the actual context and the lead up to that story, as in, I do know a few years ago, leading up to things, the media was rubbishing her. Now that usually means she's
That
full
means
of
she's
truth
in
bombs.
a good spot, yeah.
She's full of truth bombs, and it's somebody that we probably
That-
should listen to.
And I'm looking.
You know.
We don't generally work to a script.
No,
But,
we don't. But I had to write a few
that's a few-
things down that she
yeah.
said.
So she wrote a few prompters
Yeah.
here, so just so we can
She's-
start an argument with each other.
Because she's got a friend, an author who wrote a book, and somehow Roseanne herself, become extremely awake, but she is very linked with the whole spiritual side of things and God, not religion. And she was asked by Alex Jones a number of questions. She said a few things. The will of the people united equals the will of God. So it's not until we actually come together united and raise the bar, which I've talked about before, raise the frequency, then we're asking God or the higher powers that be, to step in.
That is biblical, and the Bible
Yeah.
says it in the way that when the people dwell together or are together in
Strength
unity,
in numbers.
it says when they come together in unity, it commands
Yeah.
a blessing.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, like the World Economic Forum, I think the globalists is a great
Yeah.
example. They don't have unity. Now, they
Yeah.
may all have the same vision, but there's no unity of vision.
Yeah.
So they're really just psychopaths and narcissistic and people that are dog eat dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when
yeah.
you come together and there's a movement of unity in people, you only ever get unity in good.
Yeah.
So if people are to come together and say, we're going to do this, it's always good.
See, it goes in line with, over the years,
True unity.
my search for truths and things like this, long before I woke up. I've got a massive, as I explained to you not long ago, I've got a massive
It's a good story,
bookshelf.
too,
Lots of
yeah.
stories. I've got lots of books, and a lot of them talk about manifestation. So really it is that one step further, and it talks about the power of three. So there's the power of three or more. When you've got the power linking of three or more people, you're invoking something far more powerful than your individual strength. So she's saying it actually brings on the strength or it promotes and invokes the power of God back with us
does.
to assist us in what we need to do. I don't think I'm explaining it quite the
No, you
way
are.
she did in her amazing
No,
way.
you're doing a pretty good job of it.
But yeah,
It's that when two or three are gathered together in
yeah.
God's name, He's
Yeah,
there. He's in
yeah.
the middle.
And I hear this a lot when we attend these rallies and whatnot, which are amazing. But the other way of saying it, which is, a bit more simple in mind, it's united we stand, divided we fall. This is the mantra that people are following at the moment. But if we actually delve into a bit deeper as to what that actually means, because it doesn't mean the infighting that's going on.
My dad was a minister for years, as you know. But he used to always get invited to these unity events, right?
Yeah.
Where all the different churches would come together, and he would not go. He sent me once.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
thanks,
gosh.
Dad.
Yeah.
I was like, I think
Yeah.
it was a 3-day event, and I was like pulling teeth. I would have rather gone to the dentist.
Yeah.
But one of the things he used to say is, unity is not everybody sticking their head in the same pig trough.
No.
And,
Yeah.
and a man-made unity
Yeah.
is where we're trying to make it work. Kind of like this, I'm going to raise it, the religion, so the Pope and the Islam and whoever have all come up with this thing in Saudi Arabia. They've signed on to the 10 Commandments of the environment. And it's
Where they're
just
trying to unite the whole idea and concept of religion.
and it's that.
This is part
it's,
of the
everybody sticking their
global
head
agenda.
in a pig trough thinking
Yeah.
that they got unity.
Yeah.
That is not unity. Unity is a move of the spirit. Unity is when your spirit is with somebody and together that happens. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
What Roseanne's talking about
Yeah.
too is saying when there's that move of spirit, like the freedom movement, when we
Yeah.
all come together and we say yes, now you've got something.
Yeah, yeah. And she harps on getting the community together and united as well. And individually, strong mind, strong body, which I harp on.
Well, you just mentioned that, going to the gym and
Yeah.
emptying yourself of toxins.
Yeah, and doing something that I haven't done, but I keep telling myself to do. It's on that to-do list that never gets done, but it's to do with community progression, and it's looking into growing your own food.
yeah.
I go to the farmers markets
Yep.
and all that sort of thing, and I feel like it's better. You can actually smell the food
Yeah,
when you go and
yeah,
buy. You can actually
true.
smell the veggies, and I know that there's some extra substance, but for self-preservation, and I'm not being an alarmist, but these are the things that we need to do. She said a few really powerful things. You've just got to watch it yourself because of the way that she imparts the message. She basically said to Alex Jones, we've won. We've already won. God's won. They're desperate and they're doing everything they can do while they fall to take us with them, basically. But we've already won.
Now you think you get that look because you think I don't agree with you, but I do. I've been saying that for a while.
Talk.
We do. We win.
Yes.
We win, but I think we've got a heck of a journey to get to that
We do, and
point of
we
winning.
have. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
what they mean by win. So a lot of people think when they hear we've won, they think that means everything's just going to go back to normal and
Yeah.
everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening personally in the
Yeah.
short term.
No. Well, she said,
No.
in line with what you're saying, she said, we've always looked to the top-down effect. We've always looked to the people above to save us. Come and save me, please. You're in a position of power. She said, now, with God's help, or with the powers that we look at, with their help, we need to look at the bottom up.
Bottom out.
So, it comes down to people, everyday people going into school boards, taking a position on school boards, changing things, the people changing things for the people, not looking to somebody else to come and save us. There might be plans in place for people out there, the white hats are coming to save us. They might be, but it may be a ploy just to get us to relax on our,
it's funny you say
own
that.
strength.
I was thinking when they did the lockdowns here in Australia, it set me thinking about the resistance, the French resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what? And I'd never given that much thought, but I started thinking, what is the resistance? Because I thought, I'm not a guy that's going to go out and blow something up or hurt somebody. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I thought the majority at extreme, they wouldn't do that. So I thought, so what is the resistance?
Saying no.
I thought, the resistance was sometimes not when you're the one that went against the flow. Maybe putting a sticker on a
It's hard at
post.
first, but then it becomes habit. Like everything.
And we're not telling everyone don't wear masks. We'll just get removed off every Facebook platform and whatever else. But I'm just saying, the resistance
Maybe I am
is doing. Yeah, maybe we are. She cut her off Facebook, not me. All right, Facebook. Honestly, I'm all for you. Not.
It's saying no. I'm not taking that test.
Actually,
I don't care if it means I'm sorry. I hate that I'm having to forfeit my couple of grand, but I'm not taking the job because you're asking me to do. If we all say no.
So
say no.
We've got a mutual friend, Ines, and she's a good example of this.
Yeah, she's a legend.
She works in the public service, and
don't incriminate her.
she was telling me how.
I'll make you cut this.
She was telling me how, kind of in the lunchroom type deal, she bumped into somebody else that thinks like her.
Right.
There's somebody else in here that thinks like it, and then all of a sudden there's two of them, and then they find out there's a third one. So they've almost got this like secret group of people that are all like, we're not for this vaccine, we're not for these things, and good on her, and there's more for us than not.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I ran into so many people when we were at Parks, the Elvis Festival a while back. Yeah.
I'm going to say one about Facebook, which I sort of throw out there. I reckon Facebook's done a deal with the globalists. So Meta, they're starting the metaverse, right? So, and they're selling real estate in there, like people are buying it, $50 million or something. Someone paid for a block of land in the metaverse.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think even though metaverse is not doing well financially, if it was 5 million, it might have been 5 million, but 50 million sounds better, so we'll say 50 million. But anyway, I reckon they've done a deal where they've said, Facebook, you censor everybody, you stop everybody. They've got a plan. Facebook's and Meta's going to take over. And I think they've gone to Zuckerberg and said, look, kill your Facebook, let us do whatever, and we're going to give you the rights for the metaverse because this is where the world's going.
It looks that way.
That's what they've done.
That's the way it's looking.
Because he's committing suicide with Facebook, really.
Yeah, that platform's just ridiculous.
They've promised him the world. And boy,
funny story about that when I got that notification yesterday.
That she's restricted.
My account had been restricted. It was after I'd posted all these things on the chemtrails. But their excuse was literally something backtracking about 6 months ago. They actually came up with this thing they showed me as to the reason I posted something 6 months ago, and they're telling me I've got a restricted account now.
Yeah, I've had heaps of those. So I'll go back like 3 months. I've had it where they'll be like,
but they're telling me now, right now, because I'm hammering the whole
they'll find
thing.
something. I mean, they restrict you just because they can.
Yeah,
they're so evil, really. Yeah, I mean, they don't care.
No,
they don't care.
But this thing that Roseanne was talking about. You've got to watch this. It's only 10 minutes, and like I said, it's grabs. But
if I can watch 10 minutes, you can watch 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
She's talking about how powerful and relevant grandmothers and mothers are going to be in the rebuild.
Yes.
To protect the children and all that sort of thing. And it just brings me to the fact that there's an international rally that's going to occur in May on Mother's Day,
Mother's Day in America. I think Mother's Day here is different in
Yeah,
Australia.
but the one that I'm involved in is actually in May, that I've been asked to spearhead over here. So stay tuned, because that is to do with mothers leading the fight,
Okay.
mothers being protective of their kids. So I've been contacted by somebody over in Canada to
Did you
organise
speak?
things here. Yeah, so
Oh.
we'll talk more about it when I know more details. But
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
stay tuned, because it will be
Good,
huge. And I know how important it is, and I agree with Roseanne there, because mothers fire up and are very protective,
And
like nothing else. you know.
Mother's love should be, next to God's love, should be the safest place in the world. And it's a travesty when it's not.
Yeah,
So I agree. I think women, when they rise up, the men kind of go like, ooh, and then follow.
yeah, yeah.
Men
it's pretty
rise up,
powerful.
women are like, oh, here he goes again. But when the women rise up, the men are like, okay, we better pay attention. We're going to have
Yeah.
trouble here.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it is. I mean, it's from the ground up, like you said.
yeah.
When it's
yeah.
the women that have come out of hiding, and encourage you ladies, you've got so much to give. Don't ever think you're just, I just do. Never think that. And again, I get back to trying to think of the lady's name. Forgive me. Our Dutch Rita.
Sorry, I'm moving his
Sorry.
elbow because he's knocking the camera around, and
the
I can
camera.
see everyone rocking.
Rita in the Netherlands. That she really broke the Dutch farmers thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
That was just.
Yeah.
It was a lady,
Yeah.
an older lady that I don't even know if she speaks English.
Yeah. And you've alluded to this before when we were down at Epic. How many women my age and older were down there? You
It's-
know, fighting the good
It was so
fights.
common. We would. I would just walk from camp to camp. I was out there every day, pretty
Yeah.
much, except when I had to take a rest. But
Yeah.
pretty much every day. So I walk from camp to camp, just walk in, say hi. And everyone's like, "Oh, hello!" And we're all like
Yeah.
sharing food, and everywhere. It was great. But the most common theme were middle-aged women.
Yeah.
Going, I was at home, and something told me
And
I had to come.
Yeah, I had to join.
And
yeah.
that's what excites me about San Francisco, Boston, New York City. I've
Yeah.
seen that had to come,
Yeah.
move there. And I believe that we are going to see a sovereign like that was. Really, that was sovereign.
Yeah.
They were holy. And I want to say holy because it should never be lessened. What happened was amazing. And we're going to see the same Boston, New York, San Francisco, where people are just going to spontaneously come out onto the streets, into their home,
You
from
said
their
this
homes,
last week. This is what
sharing
you
meals
see.
together, laughing, sitting under trees, playing guitar, and I think all night. And I can sort of see myself right in the middle of that. And I
Yeah.
think what's going to happen is it's going to be like, hey, Scott, you want to come to my place and have some breakfast and take a shower? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And then back out on the street again.
Yeah.
Because
The people coming together and uniting.
we are going to see that. America, you are going to see that.
Mm.
San Francisco, Boston, and New York City, the three cities that I've seen it in, I believe.
Yeah, wow.
In vision.
Speaking of people making a difference, we have not us, not our state,
Yeah.
but New South Wales have their election coming up, I think, this weekend. And
Do you think it's free and fair?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
My first knee-jerk reaction is I doubt it, but we've got people in there giving it a go. We've got, I can count, as I've said before, 5 senators in there that are really for the freedom movement. But there's
Can't remember their names.
yeah, there's Senator Rennick, Antic, there's
Yeah.
Malcolm
Roberts.
Roberts, there's Canavan and Babbitt.
Okay, so they're the ones. If you're in the freedom movement,
Is it Babbitt? With United. United.
Australia
I'm not
Party.
going to talk politics because I'm only new to that game and I really didn't care about it before. But I'm interested these days. United cops a bit of flack in the freedom movement. That they've got hidden agendas and that sort of thing. But I tell you what, I would much rather. I've listened to Clive Palmer's recent speech about his own personal experience when he got COVID and that sort of thing. And I'm going to include that link as well in my comment because I just think if I'm going to go to war, I tell you, I would rather have somebody speaking like that and somebody like that feels that way. If I'm going to pick the best of the bad bunch, so to
Yes,
speak,
yeah.
than somebody like our former Prime Minister or somebody like that. You know, he is for freedom, whether he has other agendas and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I think that's, to interrupt, I would say sorry, but I'm not.
Don't be, because I interrupt you all the time.
Don't interrupt me while I'm interrupting.
Sorry, Scott, as I was saying.
Don't interrupt me while I'm interrupting. Right? It's the same with the Trump argument in the US. I think people are, oh, he's this, he's that. I think we have to get it back to what do we need right now? Fundamentally, yeah, freedom.
And
But what do we need
to do?
in the political circle is we need nationalists, not globalists. Because
Oh,
if
absolutely.
we've got globalist leaders, they're selling us out
Yeah.
faster than you know. I think Australia's been sold out. But
I believe
but,
those 5 I mentioned are. They're for Australia.
they're nationalists. They're standing for Australia.
Somebody like Ricardo Bossi
Yeah.
and his associates, there's a few. You need to look into it. Now, obviously, it's an
For the
election
Australian
in
crowd,
New
yeah.
South Wales. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Bossi has a massive following internationally, so a lot of people watching internationally will probably know who he is.
Yeah.
He stands for all the right things, but there is somebody, and I wish I wrote his name down, but he was having an interview with Maria Z, who is a big freedom
Yeah.
citizen journalist, somebody with all the right information at the moment. I'll include that as well, but if you are in his zone, he is somebody that I would vote for, and his interview was amazing, but he spoke about making sure when you're looking at who you're going to vote for that it's an independent with no ties.
Yeah.
And look at their background, look at what they've done for a career, and you know,
Have you
what are their
got,
influences.
I've just noticed our battery's about to go. So
Can't
think we-
get that out.
so-
Our battery's going because we've really been having a chat.
yeah.
Too long.
I've tried to stop her from talking, but she just won't stop.
I've got a lot to say.
So we're gonna sign off.
But I am going to include all those links that I've been chatting about in my comments.
Good. Yeah, that'd be great if you can
So,
do that.
and it'll be under through my Facebook that I'm obviously commenting on. So if you do want to
we
get
can
over
include
to my
them in
Facebook,
the description. Yeah, if you get
in
organised,
my comments, you can see all my chemtrail annoyances.
Yeah, yeah.
Jump over.
So we'll see you next week, and we're glad you're watching. Put some comments if there's stuff you want us to talk about, or questions you want to ask, or
Yeah.
you know.
And if you're in New South Wales, have a look. Pay attention to who you're voting.
Yeah.
I know you will anyway if you're in the freedom movement.
And those for in the USA, with the currency going like it's going, and the banks doing what they're doing. Watch some of the videos we've got on the site. It's gonna work out. We do win in the end. Melissa.
Should I buy gold?
So,
It's time to buy gold, isn't it?
yeah, maybe. Don't buy big blocks of it.
Talk about that next week.
But yeah, they'll probably take it. But anyway. All right. So we'll see you next week.
See ya.